Hello and welcome everyone to our Fantasy Grounds map and image creation. This is our Saturday stream where we go over all of our art-related news as well as tips and demonstrations of all of the built-in functionality and tools inside of Fantasy Grounds Unity that are geared around map and image creation. And I'm Josh, so thanks everyone for joining me today, and I hope that everyone's having a great week. So we're going to get into some more image creation stuff today. So for the last couple of weeks, we've actually been working on a sci-fi street. And so if I pull this up, this is what we have created here. And you can see that all of this has line of sight and lighting all what we've put it in there, as we've also used our images to create this entire map from scratch. So if anyone has missed it, you can go back and watch the last two previous episodes. You can see how we've kind of built this up to this point. So I think that we're going to call it on this map from here, and we're going to start to create something new today. We might get into some additional kind of stuff too, depending on our time frame here. And as always, if you guys have any questions or if there is something that you'd like to see created, or if you have any sort of suggestions whatsoever, please put it into chat. I'm more than happy to experiment or create stuff or dive into any other elements there. Especially if you guys have like particular issues that you're running into in your map creation, I'm very happy to help you. So, great. Without further ado, I think that I'll finish this map up before it goes up onto the Forge and on my own time, but I think we'll dive into doing some other kind of creative elements today as well. Unless you guys have a particular suggestion or something that you'd like to see, I think that we'll call this one pretty well completed. The rest of the steps will be pretty much exactly the same for each of the buildings. So there's not really a whole lot that we can kind of do here for a demonstration purpose throughout the rest of today's stream. I think we'll go on to doing something else. But I think that this was quite a successful map. Lots of really cool elements. I really like these kind of neon sign elements that we've created. And in addition to that, we've created these different interiors, and they really add a whole kind of cool dimension to that. In addition to that, we put in our windows so that you can kind of see. And before I close this down, we'll just jump into, we'll grab our combat tracker, maybe somebody like this. And we can just grab this guy. We can actually see everything from this player's point of view. So as they move around, you can see here that everything kind of works completely as intended here. We can go inside of these buildings, and you can see here we can see out through the windows, and so on and so forth. So yeah, super fun, very cool. Let's delete Bob from this map, and we will close this down then. And as always, I'm always open to suggestions if you guys want to see something that's created or something that you would like, or just a general suggestion. I'm more than happy to kind of dive into that as well. Coming out this month in hey Lowen, in our art packs are another full map pack. So we've got some additional ones kind of coming your way. These kind of completed maps. Going to do that for a little bit. Also, I have been working on updating all of the official themes. Those will be getting pushed as a update soon as well. Revamping a lot of some of the image fidelity and so on. So that should be super fun. I'm getting ready to be creating some new themes this year, which will be great. And as always, everything that we release, those official kind of art things, are included in the art subscription, which you can get for $5 a month or $50 a year. And that includes everything that's been released and everything that will be released. And so we do release art packs and lots of other stuff every month. So, and we've already released quite a lot of stuff there. So we have let's see here. Not sure what we have plans today. I'd like to see another example of roof layer over a room that be turned off, including occluders. Sure. Yeah, we can totally do that. There's a couple of different things here, and depending on how, let's actually kind of dive into that. We can kind of talk about occluders a little bit and how they interact with the system and how your players kind of interact with it as well, which can be a good thing, and turning layers on and off. So there's a couple of different ways that you can kind of achieve this, depending on how you kind of want to go about it. One of the great things about the system, and here let's just create a new image layer, and I'll kind of continue to talk about this while we progress. Hey, Spencer. And so let's create a new image element here. And we'll just open this up. And we can close down this now. We can talk about how the hiding of layers and the vision of players are all kind of included into these particular types of elements together, right? And the first thing we'll do is let's create a new painting layer. And what we can actually do is when we hide a layer, it will also hide all of the occluders that are attached to that layer. And so you can make a lot of interesting kind of immersive environments as your players progress through particular areas. Now, there's always going to be different ways you can handle these things. That's one of the, when you have a very flexible system like we have in Fantasy Grounds, means that you can have lots of different ways that you can approach every scenario. So there's no right or wrong way. So all I'm going to be doing is presenting some ways that you can kind of do this. By no means is this like a completely static kind of environment here, right? Like there's nothing kind of set in stone as we kind of progress here. Let's turn down our grid system here a little bit. And what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to grab, we'll just do like a very classic, I'm just going to type in like a wall brush. And we'll get something, oh yeah, like this brick wall. That'll work good. And we'll kind of come in here. Before we do that, I'm going to grab this and just drop it down here so I don't have to search for it again. And we'll just do, well, let's do like a ground. We can go into the 2019 art pack and we'll grab one of these tiles. I'll go into our painting system here and I'm just going to turn off the stroke and switch over to fill. And we'll just grab like this grass and we'll grab the rectangle here and we will drag out a little bit of area here that we can kind of work with. Let's make this a little bit larger. So you can see that kind of just makes it so it's not so repeating. There we go. And we'll just kind of build right on top of this. Correct, right? So there's a couple of different ways that you can do this, and we'll kind of approach it a couple of different ways here. If we go into our interior map pack here, and so you're absolutely correct. If you want to have a visual representation that kind of works across the board, and there are pros and cons for both method, right? But if we go into our interior map, we actually have some maps in here. And these are kind of already pre-set up. Now what you can do if you really want to, and I can kind of show this, doing things next to each other. What you'd actually do is, because this is all set up to be like layered. Let me just grab this, move it over to here. and here is the second floor. So here we have 2 floors. This already has all of the line of sight all built right into it. But if I were to, and let's just do this will match right on top of this perfectly, and all of this will line up. If we go into here, you're going to see we're going to get a mess of all of our line of sight here, right? Which means that we're going to have to always have one of these layers kind of turned off, which means you have to move the entire party all at the same time from one floor to another. So you can have multiple layers like this, but because the line of sight is always going to be on, regardless of what layer that is attached to, as long as that layer is active, that line of sight is going to be active. So if we were to look at this from a player's perspective, let's just grab our little buddy Bob over here again, drop him right in here. And now let's turn on our, well, we don't want lighting, we just want line of sight. We grab Bob, we can see that this is all working appropriately, right? And even if I turn this on, this is all going to work appropriately because this is going to be the exterior here, and the interior elements are not really that important to him. So let's turn this top level off, and so we have here is our ability to enter this building. As we make our way through, you can see all of this is going to function as we would anticipate. Yeah, Bob should level up soon. I think you're right. So here, everything's working as we anticipate, but you can see we have this kind of ghost image, which is Bob can remember some of the places that he's been, right? Now, if we decide that Bob wants to go upstairs, and let's say he's moving up to our second level, what we're going to need to do at this point is turn this on and turn this one off. Now Bob's ghost image, he's still going to be able to remember what was down below, but this is going to change now as he begins to move through here, right? He's still kind of remembering what was beneath, but it's showing what is here now. As you can see, as Bob kind of moves through all of these different elements. If he wants to go back downstairs, so if I had left this one on, the interference of the lower level is going to cause us some problems here. So having multiple layers like this is not always going to be the best alternative here. Let me just grab Bob, throw him back outside here, and now let's reset his visibility. Reset. Great. We'll turn this level back on, this one back off. Let's go into our mode over here. Actually, let's turn off our line of sight for a moment. And let's move these. Actually, I'll grab this one here. Now what we can actually do is we turn this all back on. You can see this is going to refresh all of that information. You can see that Bob is moving around the outside here. And what we can actually do, especially from the GM's point of view, is this is going to maintain. He's going to have all of this information of all of these areas that he had seen, right? And if we just turn off this, so this is my GM view, and Bob goes upstairs, I can grab him, and I can move him to this spot right here. Now he's still going to have memory of what was downstairs, right? So the player can still kind of see these elements, but now he can kind of move through this area. It separates all of this stuff, and it also alleviates any of this ability that we need to turn these elements on and off. So let's say that we have a window here, and we want to be able to still see outside. Well, we can do that pretty easily in our creation system here. So let's just delete all of our tokens. We'll turn off this stuff for right now. And we're going to delete these two elements here. We're going to build two floors here rather simply. I'm not going to go into too much detail right now, but We will set up all of our line of sight, and we'll do a little bit of our exterior kind of elements here, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to rename this ground. And we'll just go into, let's grab, we'll create a new painting layer. Well, actually, we can just do it all in this layer. This will make it pretty easy here. Or we could do maybe like a couple of different layers, but let's do maybe, well, we can go back into our 2019. Let's go into not effects, but decorations. We have like these patches of things and whatnot. So I'm just going to add some of these elements around. Sure, let's grab this. And we'll stamp some of this. We're doing this all on one layer here. And we'll do a structure right here in the middle. And then we'll grab some of this stuff. Again, we'll just kind of grab some of these elements and stamp them in to quickly kind of create our environment here. And give us some frame of reference to some different stuff that we might see around here. And we might even want to grab like something like this to quickly generate some additional. And these are great for kind of doing that. Awesome. So now we have some stuff that we can kind of see on the outside here, right? We have these rocks and trees and bushes and some ground textures and whatnot. So it'll be very obvious if we are on the second floor and we're looking out of a window and something is a little bit amiss here. So what I like to do in these kind of scenarios is we can actually do it a couple of different ways here. But we can create some particular elements here. And what I'll do is I'll create my footprint. And I might even build that second floor on this side, but then I'm going to separate them. So here, let's go into, let's just look up for like a wood floor. And let's do something like, I guess we'll grab, yeah, something like this will be okay. And we'll go back into this area here. We'll drag that and drop that in. Nope, that one. And we'll switch over to our stroke. And we'll grab this guy and we'll drop him right in there. And I'm actually going to make this a little bit larger here. And we will make our mitered corners. And on a new painting layer, I'm just going to drag out a nice little rectangle here. Here's our building. Let's add in a little entry area down through here. And this is going to give us, again, a little bit of frame of reference. So again, I'm just going to hold down Control, and we'll maybe bring something out like that. Augment our shape here a little bit. And maybe do a little bit, another little add-on over here. So here's the shape of the structure that we're going to be using here, right? Now, when we build this out, we can do this a few different ways here. But for our purposes of what we're trying to create here, what we're actually going to be doing is doing a second floor. And the second floor might include only this middle bit. It might include these other elements on the side. But what I think we're going to do is we're going to do some roof elements on top of these two areas. These will only be on the first floor. And then our main floor, on the second floor, is just going to be here in the middle. So what I'm actually going to do here in this particular instance is I'm going to create a new painting layer. And we can call this one first floor. And what I'll do is I'm going to do my roof first over these areas, and then I'm just going to recreate another square here. And once I have this all lined up, I'm going to duplicate this layer and my ground layer. I'm going to set that over here on the side. So we're going to have a duplicate of this that our players can look out of that first and second floor and see whatever it is. And then it's just a matter of me managing where the players are at that point, right? And by duplicate them all in this one area over here, I can maintain continuity of the position of everything that I've kind of created here. So now let's look up roof, not rug. And we can look up some nice like roof kind of fill elements. Maybe something like this. And we'll turn our stroke off. And then we'll come back over here. We'll drop this in here. And I'm going to go just beyond. And I'm actually going to go a little bit on the inside here as well. And again, I'm going to hold down Control, and we'll snap this out here. Get a nice little roof element. We can even do, if we do one this way, and then we can do another one this way. And the reason why I'm going to do two separate, we don't want to do fills, right? Let's do this again. We want to do new elements each time. So I can make the shingles go in whatever direction that I actually want them to, right? So then I'm going to create one new one over here as well. And then when we go into our fill elements here, you can see that this is going to be independent of that, right? So I can rotate this all the way around. And if I want to, I can kind of match up that seam. And then here again, we might want to like move this stuff around, kind of put this, actually I think I'll rotate it this way. Something like that. Great. And now I'm going to go back down to my first floor and come back into here, and I'm just going to grab this. It's going to grab all of these elements that we have here before, and I'm going to go back onto this layer here, hold down Control. Whoop, I'm not going to do it that way. We want to make sure that we have our proper things selected here, which is the rectangle. And we're just going to drag out another element like this. So here we have our second floor and our first floor all designed. And we know that it's all going to be exactly in the same spot. So what I'll actually do at this point is I'm going to duplicate this layer. It's going to put it on top, but that's okay. We're going to drag it down to something like this. And then I can select both of these. I'm going to hold down Control to select these, move into my Layers tab, and then I can just drag this right over. Let's put it like here. And what I'll actually do at this time is I'll probably create files or folders rather, and then separate those right into that. So here we have a duplicate of exactly the same scene. Over here, we've done it really easy. We don't actually have to remake it in any way. We can just duplicate the entire element, drag it and drop it, and we have complete continuity between all of these elements. Here we can even do lots of different interactions and whatnot from the way that all of this kind of is more cohesive. We can actually even, let's say we wanted to create some sort of sense of height or whatever, we can even change some of the contrast that we have on this background image and go from there. hopefully that kind of answers your question there a little bit on a quick and easy way that you can kind of do it this way. Now, if you wanted to, right, let's say we wanted to duplicate this layer. I'm just going to grab this again, and we can move this right back where it was. If we wanted to keep it all, and I'll drop this down here, we'll keep that separate. We can do exactly the same kind of thing here, but what we'll actually want to do, and let's create a folder actually. And I'll put this stuff in there. As we said before, you can just hide this, right? We could even create an additional roof layer. Let's say this is only going to be a 2-story house. Create another painting layer and drop this down here. Again, I'm going to go onto this layer here, and we will just grab this, and that's going to set us up exactly with the same thing that we had before. And I'm going to go into my new overlap here, and we'll just make sure that we always select the rectangle. And we can just create a new roof element like this. And if something like that happens, all you have to do, I've done these on the wrong layer. Let's delete these and do them on the correct layer this time. Make sure you always select the correct layer. So we'll grab and drop that, and then we'll do it here. And then we can switch over here and we can rotate this. And maybe we'll move this here like that. Great. Oh yeah, you can just turn roofs off very, very easily. Yeah, that's no problem. Well, the more complex your scene is, the more complex the answer will be, right? So this, like, let's say, for example, if we had several buildings and we had all of our roofs on one layer, right? The roofs. You can just turn off those roofs because you don't really need to worry too much about seeing into the interiors. Another thing that you can do is you don't necessarily need to turn them off completely either, right? So let's say that we have something along these lines. You can just lower down the opacity of the roofs to something like this. Especially if the roof elements are needed, but you wanted to see like a ghost image of kind of like what's inside. So there's no like clear-cut answer to how you want to handle these elements. It's always going to be depending on the scenario and kind of like how you want to do this. So let's say, for example, if we have several buildings here, you don't really, because of the line of sight on the walls themselves, you don't have to worry about seeing into the next building. You only want to be able to see from this top-down player perspective, right? And their perspective is going to be based off of their token in general. So if we were to go back to our first floor here, and let's make our walls here, and we're going to put this down here. And then let's just add a door. Let's do it like right here. And we can turn this off momentarily, right? So let's say we are going into our, let's go back to our top element here. Well, this is rather interesting. Let's reset this. Not sure why we can't see the ground here. Let's just maybe we need to turn on some. We'll turn on some lighting here. So here we have our line of sight for this building. So we don't really need to worry too much about the roof elements, right? We can certainly turn these back on if they are going to be relevant in any particular way. But what I would do in this particular instance, if the roofs are element, like let's say relevant, like you're having some playing elements up on the roofs themselves, then what I would do is I would leave this as my default, and I would actually be turning this off and only using this when they actually went into a building. And what I would do is I'd turn this on and then turn the roof off when that actually happened. So if you're having like multiple levels and if you're, I guess it's dependent on the playing interaction of what you're trying to achieve. Yeah, so I mean if you're let's say for example, if you're having a big fight and you have this particular building here, let's actually turn this off so we're not going to worry about that for the moment. You can actually probably achieve most of what you're trying to with something along these lines here, right? Now, let's say, for example, you want to have elements with your roof, right? So let's say we have two totally separate different roof elements here, right? And let's refresh our lighting here. So we have our walls that are down here, but in the beginning, maybe we're not worried too much. We want to be able to see all of these different elements. You can do a separate occluder system for your roof elements, and then when you hide that, it will hide those elements as well. So let me just demonstrate here. I like to use terrain oftentimes for my roof elements. So let's say, for example, there's a peak here. You can use that peak as a way to distinguish between what you can see from one side to another. So if I were to say, for example, let's say that we do this element, and this is going to be tied to this top painting area over here. And then what I'll do is I'm going to overlap this. Whoops. Not exactly what I wanted to do. Let's try that again. I'm going to overlap this to like this. So we have this roof element, and the way that this works is we go back into our play session. And I usually don't have these toggleable just because I don't like the interaction there. So as you can see this side of the roof. You'd be able to see anything that's on this side of the roof, but not on the other. But you'll always be able to see the peak as you move around this building. And if you're on top, again, here, You'll be able to see these, well, this should, let's see here. Yeah, this should block on that side. It used to. There might have been a change to the. Yeah, there it is. But once, oh right, once it's inside, it's going to allow you to see through that element. So what you'd actually want to do is have this set up into 3. Let's reset this up. What you'd actually want to do is do 1 in the middle here. You know, this is one of the things that I kind of enjoy doing for some reason is, and then you're going to have 1 on this side, and then you're going to have 1 on this side. Now this should work correctly, because what you want to do is, yeah, you want to be able to see, but not on the other side of the roof. And then when you're in the middle, you can actually see everything. That's how you want to do it. It's not necessarily too complicated to do. It just probably is going to require a collection of different things. But we can kind of think about this and dive into it. And because it's about figuring out how the occluders are going to function, where things are going to be seen. So are your players going to, is it that your players are on the ground or they are on the first and second floor shooting a single enemy? So depending on who's going to be where, we really only care about the perspective from the player's point of view. So the players are going to be on the first and second floors. Yeah, great for wagons, crates, and catwalks. Yeah. Yep. Yeah, well, we can do that very similarly, right? You can kind of approach that in a whole bunch of different ways. So let's build a little encounter here. What I'll actually do is let's grab this folder. I like to use folders because they'll help. We can kind of delete all of this stuff and its contents. So let's move these into here, and we'll call this top roof. And we'll leave Bob out here for the moment so that we can kind of keep an eye on what we're doing. What we're going to actually do, because you see you want to have different layered approaches. What you're actually going to do is create a kind of complex system of occluders that work together that can be removed or added as needed. As you can see, if we turn this element on, it's going to eliminate our ability when we're on the outside. We only want this to be on when we're on the inside. Oh yeah, you can. There is. We will. Let me finish doing the occluders, and then we'll jump right in, and I'll show you exactly how you can do wagon trails. There's lots of different elements that you can use for that. Yeah, very cool. So let's say we're going to have this roof element, right? We have our top roof element. We have these roof elements. This will be like the top of the first floor, top of the second floor, and then we're going to be all fighting something down here. Yeah, of course. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to start to build my occluder system all together here, right? And I think what we'll do is we'll create a new wall layer, and let's drop this down. Yeah, we're going to want it to be here because this is the layer that we're going to actually add it to. So what we're going to do is we're going to have this occluder system. And if we move over, we can still see these occluders. But this one down here, we're going to have interacting with this system in a similar way, right? So what we're going to want to do is while we're on this roof, we're going to be able to see the same side of the roof. But we're going to want to be able to control, well, we might not need to do that actually. But we are going to want to do something from, yeah, we are going to want to do something, right? Because you're going to want to change your view on certain sides, especially if you're going to be using like cover and whatnot. Well, you don't have to necessarily do it in that way, but so let's say we have a balcony down here. Yeah, this should all work. This should all work fine, I believe. So let's create a new painting layer and let's drop this down here under this layer. So let's say we have well, we can probably just use, what do we have set up right now for? And then what I'll do is I'll just change, let's look up railing. Maybe something like this. We'll just drop it down a little bit in size. And then we can, we want to be on this layer. And we'll draw a little balcony that's kind of coming out like this. Maybe like here. My balcony's kind of going in the wrong way there, so I'm just going to do this, and I'm going to reverse it. You can see it changes its direction there, which is exactly what we want. And then we'll say we'll have this higher level. This is on the second floor, the roof floor, and then we have the first floor down below it. So all of these elements can kind of work cohesively together. Now on this, we don't want to be able to see what's up above us. So what I would actually do is probably create well, depending on the need, I guess. Depending on the need, let's turn this off momentarily. We'll create a couple of different things, and we'll dive in and see what we can kind of do here. I'll do like a little wraparound element over here. Create some balconies here. And again, we can go over here, grab this, and do reverse. See, that's going to Fix our little balcony railing there. Yeah, great. So in our playtest here, you'll be able to see the roof, but I think that's okay, actually. I think that this still works fairly well. Yeah. So let's say we have a player here on the roof, even at the peak of the roof, you can see everything. And then players on either side. You could have players here, and you could have them all attacking down below. I think that it's less about the occluder setup and more about the tactical setup of the map itself, possibly. Because here you can have several players all in these different elements, and you could have one bad guy down here and have them all be able to interact with them. Now, if you wanted to do interiors in here, I think that that's where you would have to divide up what's going on inside and outside. I think that's your biggest issue. And then what you would actually do is you could turn this off. And then you would have all of these things, right? Yeah. And then you would just go inside. And then inside, you would turn on something else, right? Like something like this for your interiors. Yeah, well, you could still do that, right? All you'd have to do is your interior element here, right? This is all set up for the first floor. Let's turn that off. Let's do our second floor here, our occluders. And what I'll actually do is just go over here. That's the wrong one. I want to be on, nope, this one. Yep. And then we'll go into our painting tab. And we just want to select this, and we'll duplicate selected. And then we'll come into here. It looks like we got to connect this. Let's grab our windows. We'll create a window here, here. Yeah, so you would have these two elements, and then what I would do is I would grab another folder and drop this down, something like here. Yeah, then we would grab all of these elements and drop them in here. And what you would have to remember to do in these instances is when you turn one on, you would turn the other one off. You could even probably, yeah, you'd want to turn. Which you could actually do that, right? Depending on whose turn it was in the player tab. Yes, it would. Yep. Yeah, it would. You would definitely have some player knowledge about what other players are doing. Yep. The other way that you could handle this, though, if you wanted it to be more, is if you separated them, depending on their layer, over to the side, and then you used like a dummy ogre, but had only one entry in the combat tracker, and you handle the combat tracker for all of the attacks. So you'd have a visual representation out here. You could just use, let's say, like a token. Yes, that's correct. If you did it this way. But you could, let's just say, let's go back into, let's turn off this stuff for a moment. Go into our Layers tab. And let's go into our, we have our rooftop. Again, we can make a duplicate of this. And we'll just drag it over here. And we can just drag our, let's turn this back on. Well, you know what I could probably do is I could just make a copy of all this stuff. And that'll duplicate all of our line of sight and everything. Oh, it looks like it made some weirdness go on there doing that. Probably just redo that. Looks like it's making duplicates based off of what's underneath here. It shouldn't be. All right, so whoa, look at this. Interesting.